Shedlick is beginning to look pretty unstoppable. 5 wins in 6 rounds points to a very tough task for anyone hoping to best him. And in the case of Gronkowski, the luck has simply not been there. Maybe a stint in Germany will help him out as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Reese Gardner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Today is the first of 2 rounds in Deutschland. This stop brings us to Hockenheim, so let's head to our track guide and introduce you to the place. Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula One. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find great action no matter your tastes in racing at this fantastic venue. Well, Reese, this should be interesting and definitely a change from Knock Hill last week where they had a tiny little track. This is a modern Grand Prix course.
It absolutely is. A very historic F1 venue, mind. It was first built in the 1930s or thereabouts, but this is its modern version that dates from about 2001. A very modern layout that provides a lot of good overtaking opportunities. Great passing spots at the Einfahrt Parabolica at turn 2, and also into the Spitzkehre hairpin at the end of that long back stretch. It's a very wide venue as well throughout most of the lap, but as soon as you get through Mobile 1 into the Sachs curve and Sud curve, the track narrows up quite a bit, so it will be a bit more difficult to pass, but that section really tests the drivers. I think we're going to be seeing an awful lot of oversteer out of those final couple of corners as the drivers try their best to put the power down.
And no doubt about that, so much oomph underneath these light old machines, but let's take a look at the points and where we sit currently, and as I mentioned, Jim Shedlick has a pretty decent lead. That said, it is not quite as big as you would expect at only 29 ahead of Jordan Gronkowski, but Ove Trangerade sits there in the 3rd position, and then it starts to drop off pretty significantly, Sanchez, Olsen, and so on down. But Shedlick has certainly been the one that has a target on his back at this point in the F1s. What about in the F2 championship here, Reese?
Well, Jorge Nieva is the one who leads the way in those standings, 31 points ahead of Matthew Maudsley, and of course there are drop rounds being applied this late in the season. It's still incredibly close between Maudsley and Wright for P3, and as you go down the standings, it is one heck of a battle for 4th on back too. There's barely anything separating those drivers. I would expect that Emmanuel Pereira, Michael Grissinger might be able to trade a few places there.
As for the Nations Cup, right now the United States leading that because of Shedlick's contributions. The UK with Gronkowski in there, a bunch of second places have left them about 50 behind. They're starting to get into a close fight here with Spain and Norway, only 7 and 8 points back respectively. From there, Singapore, Denmark, and Finland are a little bit distant. They're going to have to see a big change in fortunes to see that change. As for the race details, what are the drivers up against here, Reese?
Well, the drivers are going to be racing for 21 laps around here for round 7 of 12, and of course it is an open setup, so the drivers will be able to adjust everything that the engineers back in the 60s were able to adjust, and there's plenty of tuning options for this car. I would expect that a lot of drivers will be going for mechanical grip more so than stiffness due to the amount of medium and slow speed corners here, but of course no spare car, so if you end up in a bit of a prang, that's going to be pretty much your race over.
Well, at least they've got all that paved runoff to help them not hit things. But that said, that's going to be a real talking point with the incident limit that they've got here in this race. And we're still waiting for the first of the drivers to set a lap time here in qualifying. And we'll see what they can manage out at this track. It is pretty cool conditions since it's so early in the morning here in Germany, 8 a.m. virtual standard time. And that's left it at 66 Fahrenheit out here. So certainly going to take a bit to get those tires up to temperature. These things known for being pretty rock hard on these old cars. Kind of curious what it's going to be like down on that first lap into the Spitzkehre there, Reese, because it certainly catches a lot of drivers out when there's so many around them getting sent in there. But the long braking distances might make it all the more difficult to try and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the drivers are also going to have to watch out for lap 1, turn 1 as well through that very sharp but fast first corner. Got a very big sausage curb on the inside of that one, and it doesn't matter how soft the suspension of your car is, like these late 60s Grand Prix cars. If you hit that thing, you're either going up into the air or spinning around. There really isn't much middle ground, but let's see what Eugenio Massa is able to do here on his first hot lap entering the arena section. It is a very smooth turn in. Wondering if he's still gearing up for a hot lap here, just trying his best to get his car in a good spot here. Oh, there we go, Jordan Gronkowski. He's just set a 37.8 to start things off, but currently it is Topi Kotkaniemi who sets the fastest time, 1:37.3, and that's 5 tenths ahead of Sebastian Tixier, who's just gone into P2.
I haven't seen Topi in a little bit here, and he is back on top of it. We've also got Bill Tyler there in fourth. Ryan Walker is back once again after last week in his homeland. Is put himself into fifth. Jorge Nieva continues to just impress. He's an F2 level driver in this series, and yet he has been vying in the top 10 for recent rounds and has even grabbed a podium overall this season. But Topi currently has the measure with about half a second over the nearest driver. And checking to see if we've got Shedlick here today. It does not look like he has managed to show up. So that is going to be a drop round for him, no doubt, and an open gate for Gronkowski to finally get that first win this season that he's been so close to multiple times.
Yeah, and Gronkowski actually putting himself in a good spot in qualifying so far. You see him there in P3, and he's coming up to the end of his second and final hot lap now. Hopefully he's managed to keep it between the white lines and off the grass. Otherwise, there's an off-track there that will invalidate that lap. Out of the final corner he comes. Very wide exit here at the Hockenheim ring, and you see drivers using all that curb and then some. 1:37.9, unfortunately not improving. He's actually fallen to third because Matthias Havdahl has put himself into P2. Oh, good performance from Nieva, by the way. He's just promoted himself to P6.
Wow, so a bit of a master out here. And Tixier is up to the front row as well. Sebastian's another driver that still needs his first win in the series in that number 9 and was vying for the championship in spite of that last time out. Ove Trangrade, on the second time of asking, is up into fifth, displacing Ryan Walker, who's done with his qualifying. Most of the drivers are finished at this point. There's just a couple that have yet to set a time. Sanchez, Xavier Sanchez, Paul Fair, Mats Linden. See Michael Cinco out there still needing a time. But right now we're watching Matt Wright, who sits in 16th out of the South Curve and across the line. A 38.7 is an improvement, and that'll put him into 12th.
Well, that's good news for me and all the other Aussie fans that are cheering him on. End of the lap for him, only Minute and a half left, and Xavier Sanchez just improving to 12th place. We got Ben Sumners and Gary Quellen out there as well on their final hot laps. I think Quellen will be able to get to the end of this lap before the session ticks over. Nice smooth exit out of Spitzkehre. There's plenty of torque in these DFV V8s that these cars use, but you still can get a lot of wheel spin on if you get on the throttle too hard. Does seem that Quellen has got it nice and under control. In terms of time he needs to gain, well, if he gains 2/10, he will pip 2 positions for Bruce Snelson and Robert Plumley up to 16th, so he'll be hoping for at least that much of an improvement.
It looks like he's slowing down. Yep, and he is done. I just saw Michael Cinco have a spin as well, so he's definitely not going to take this lap. And that might be it for our drivers that are able to set a time. I see Mats Linden coming around, but I think he also had a spin earlier on in that 32, but he's going to carry on. Not sure if this one will actually tick off. He might just be, he's going to pull over and call that a day. That is indeed our grid now set. And on the top of it is Topi Korteniemi. Sebastian Tixier will try to challenge him from the outside of the front row. It'll be Matthias Hovdahl in 3rd and Jordan Gronkowski in 4th. After that, Ove Traingrade starts P5. Ryan Walker starts in 6th. 4th row has Jorge Nieva and Bill Tyler. Then it's Matthew Maudsley in 9th, and top 10 are rounded out by Richard Yolland.
John Olsen in car 4 is going to start out of 11th place alongside Xavier Sanchez. It's going to be Matt Wright starting out of lucky 13th position over Jana Lehmann, with Glenn Becker and Bruce Snelson taking up the 8th row. Robert Plumley and Gary Quellen are going to be 17th and 18th. Then it's Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado and Gary Ho, one of the longest names and one of the shortest names, rounding out the top 20.
From there, 21st is Armin Weber with Bjorn Ackerman in 22nd, Tobias Hardenby in 23rd. Then you've got Will Lamb, and on the next row, it's Steve Morris and Cam Porter. Andreas Nielsen will start 27th, Ben Summers 28th, and Hideki Koivisto 29th. And of course, 30th is Marcellus Bruning.
Timothy Porter's going to start out of 31st alongside Eugenio Massa, with Jose Monteagudo starting out of 33rd, last driver to set a qualifying time. Then it's Laust Olsen, Paul Ferrer just behind alongside Mats Linden, Bogdan Nepivoda with Michael Cinco on row 19, Christian Arribas and Robert Reynolds 39th and 40th. A bumper grid rounded off by Simone Pancri in the 41st position, not taking to the track in qualifying. All down to the standing start here, Joe. This is going to be interesting coming into turn 1.
No doubt. Hopeful and crossing fingers that everybody manages to make it through there, as looks like they are ready to go. The engines are revving and the lights are up. And now the green flag is out off the line. Pretty good start for Korteniemi. Horrible start for Tixier. He's starting to fall backwards. They're going to go 3 wide and start to get it sorted out. Tixier tries to turn in. Has a little bit of a touch. They get through. In the background, a couple drivers having to scatter, but it looks like other than an incident on the front stretch, well, they got through the first corner. They didn't get there, though.
Indeed, Armin Weber is slow coming through turn 1. Looks like no damage for him, but Korteniemi already stretching his lead out to 0.8 of a second over Matthias Hovdahl, and it looks like things are a little bit spaced out for that top 3 positions, but we'll see what the outbraking is like coming into Spitzkehre. No moves being made in the top 10, but a very late dive on the brakes from Richard Yalland. Actually bangs wheels with Bill Tyler. Big oversteer moment there for the number 6.
Whoa, we got somebody absolutely sending it. And I think that was Harnvey who went completely off course and into the runoff. Somebody else taking a tow. We'll try to get to that in a minute. And it's unfortunately filled with a little bit of the action we expected here today. Side by side battling. Look at this as Gronkowski and Tixier are trying to sort out 3rd. Looks like Tixier is going to get that, but Jordan is blinking all over the place.
Yeah, it's not going to be good for Jordan Gronkowski. You know, you did mention he was looking for a win here today, but if those technical issues keep continuing for him, it's not going to be a fun time, especially in open wheel cars like this with no downforce whatsoever. If you're having technical issues like that, it's not going to inspire confidence in any of your competitors. There's a problem, meanwhile, for Ove Trengerade. Looks like he's gone for a spin in the stadium section.
Self-spin for him just touched a little bit of the off track, and that sent him around. Unfortunately for him, it sends him way down the order in what is a large field today. All right, we've completed lap 1, but we've lost a few. It looks like Harnvey, Koivisto, Fair, Maurice, and Monteguido are all in pit lane after that kerfluffle there on the first lap. But as you mentioned, Korteniemi has about 1.3 seconds over Hovdal. Hovdal about 1.7 over Tixier. They're going to have to pick up the pace if they want to catch the leader.
Yeah, and if they keep battling like they are, it's not going to help them too much. At a modern Formula One venue like this, there's obviously plenty of space to run side by side and plenty of runoff to deal with if you end up making a mistake, but I think the drivers will be wanting to avoid that if they can. Seems that Tixier has managed to gain a little bit of extra time over Gronkowski, but at the same time, not making much of an impression on Matthias Hovdal.
Certainly not. He's got a ways to go to get up to second as we ride with Ryan Walker in the meantime. He might be looking forward, but behind him, he's got severe pressure from Jorge Nieva. Once again, our driver in the F2 standings who leads the points and is looking for another very good haul here today, and could even get a top 5. There you can see, got a bit of a train of cars starting to form. Bill Tyler's in there, Yolland, who we saw make some contact earlier, and John Olsen as well.
Just look at how much they brake for turn 1. That corner just requires a tap of the brakes in most cars nowadays, but these things, it feels like an actual overtaking opportunity. Nieva just rounding up Ryan Walker a little bit in the braking zone there, but we'll see if Walker can put the power down a little better here out of that very challenging turn 2 and 3 section, having to negotiate a corner on the way to this back stretch. I wouldn't call it a straight because it's just a long flowing left all the way up to the hairpin. Very good slipstream from Nieva, but he's going to hold back for now. I think that's a smart decision. You don't want to be going for big dives this early on, especially in a car like this, which is so hard to slow down as it is.
That backstretch is officially called the Parabolica out here because of the long curve. And coming now into Mercedes, Walker's been able to keep Nieva at bay, but the question is for how long, because Jorge certainly looks like he is eager and waiting for some sort of slip-up from that bright blue number 5. And behind them, we can't forget about Bill Tyler, who's still hovering around, and we hop on board in Yorker as well.
Goodness gracious. That was a very good save there from Tyler, but almost a move there for Nieva on Walker. Walker runs wide, but interesting to note there that the turn there in the stadium section banked, so you can go round the outside and still maintain pace. In fact, I've watched many real-life races there where the fastest line drivers do on their own is the outside line. So Walker's using that to his advantage. Good fastest lap from Sebastian Tixier, though. He's starting to get things in order.
I think it's safe to say these guys are pushing. So we watch them fly down towards the Parabolica entry now, braking hard for the right-hander. And we're going to check out on Cam Porter in the meantime, down in 19th, one of our various onboard cameras that we have here today. He's chasing on Will Lamb in that 18th spot, but there's... Oh! You can see the hands flying as he has to try to straighten it out.
Good save, though, have to say. And, of course, he's running the fully realistic setup there with a stick shift. It's opened him up to an attack from Marcellus Breuning. Pulls out early to go for the move. Now let's see if he checks his mirrors here. Yeah, just looking over briefly to his left-hand side as he makes his way through the very tight corner there, the slowest on the circuit, and a little bit of frustration showing on his face there. I think you can tell that Cam Porter not too happy with that mistake he made. It's lost him a position and a big chunk of time.
Yeah, and already Glenn Becker is right behind him as well, and he misses the apex down at Mercedes to boot. So he's got to regather his concentration and get focused on trying to hit those marks in this race, no doubt. Let's see. Yeah, that one looks a little bit better. Coming through Mobile 1, and instead it was a little bit of a miss from Boarding.
Oh no, Nieva, he spun.
Facing the wrong way, finds an opening to get out of the way just in time. But the damage is done from vying for a top 5. He's down to 25th, and it looks like Xavier Sanchez. Oh, how did Sanchez is in the barrier on pit entry? How did he manage that?
That is a very good question. I can tell you what happened to Nieva. He went a bit too tight in the corner and caught the curb and spun. As we go to the replay, we'll probably find out what happened to Sanchez as well. So here's Jorge Nieva, and a very close battle was forming here with Bill Tyler holding up a bunch of cars here in a train, but Nieva just turning in a little too early here in the stadium section. You'll watch as he goes over the curb, the car just loses grip right there.
Oh, so unfortunately pushing maybe a little too hard, as the other incident was with Xavier Sanchez, and I believe John Olsen, who also just retired the car. He must have been involved in a little bit of contact, and there's the second part of it. So, okay, so somehow they've spun to the inside of the south curve. Olsen already loose into the first part of the apex, and the second part, he never really gathered it up, and Sanchez wound up an innocent victim.
That's a shame there for Sanchez. Probably would have seen an opportunity there, but Olsen trying to get it back going again. Very easy to spin the wheels in these cars, especially as you're trying to accelerate through a turn. So two drivers who probably would have been vying for top 10 positions here, unfortunately now out of the race. So that's really changed things in the battling up towards the front of the field.
Quite a bit of irony here today in the actual sense of the word. I'm pretty sure this has been a cleaner race than what we saw at Knock Hill last week. Last week was the cleaner race than this one, is what I would say, is we come through turn 1, the north curve once again, following this battle down towards the braking in the Parabolica entry. That is Salgado being chased by Maudsley, and we head to Porter instead back there with a great little battle with Summers.
Very good battle going on here. Up the inside goes Tim Porter, but not going to quite be able to get it done. The Einfahrt Parabolica is one of those turns that you can hold one round the outside, but a much straighter exit here for Timothy. And using that H-shifter to good effect as he makes his way down the straight, side by side on the way in. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Looks like Porter, he's not quite confident in getting those moves done. Has to give the brakes a couple of stabs, actually. But tell you what, if he can pressure him into a mistake, he might be able to make that move.
Traingrade is trying to make his way back through the field after his early spin, so he's rocked up to the back of these guys. And Robert Plumley, oh my goodness, he's 3 wide coming out of Mercedes. And Gary Ho is going to be able to get by because of that. But what started this?
It was a mistake for Marcellus Breuning. So we'll see them come into the Mercedes section now. Plumley minding his own business there, but you'll see the mistake for Breuning here on the entry, lets the rear end get loose, and it looks like Plumley almost goes for a sympathy spin. So both of them managed to gather it up, but it always creates a little bit of drama there.
Ooh, he's very lucky that he didn't send it farther to the inside of that corner. He would have ran into a couple of cars, and that would have been an even bigger mess for all involved. Carries on. He's now in 20th place is Robert Plumley, as you see him on screen, giving chase on Gary Ho just in front of him. We're very early in this race, and a big defense there from Gary Ho down into the corner. Plumley is right on top of the gearbox. Is he going to be able to make the move down into the Spitzkara?
Good question. He's got the momentum coming out of the corner, but he's going to have the outside line for the Spitzkara. Looking over at the number 25, looks like an early tap on the brakes there, just conceding the position, probably realizing there's not much point in fighting it at this point. We're still yet to get to the halfway point of the race, so you might as well just save your skin for another time.
As we now ride on board just in front of them, battle between Becker and Xavier Sanchez, and Sanchez apparently not too damaged from his earlier contact. He's up to 17th. He's managed to get by Nielsen just behind. So Becker up ahead, and then Cam Porter as well.
Very nice battle, that one, but Tixier's gone off. Tixier was starting to pressure Jordan Gronkowski there for third place, trying to get positions back, but something's gone very wrong for him in the last couple of turns. He's actually caught the sausage curb and the outside of the drag strip on the outside of the final couple of corners and headed straight into the barrier. Just slips over the sausage curb, rear end breaks free, and he tries to gather it up, but all that is left to greet him is bang, that entry to the pits.
That definitely damaged the nose of the car pretty greatly. I'm not sure how quick it'll be in a straight line because of that. And there you can see as he comes through the Parabolica, completely missing the bodywork on there. He's still in ninth, so he's not in too bad of a spot, but certainly not vying for the win.
Certainly not, as Janne Lehmann starts chasing him down. Lehmann, a new name to this series from Finland, and making short work here of getting away from the cars behind. Matthew Maudsley having to negotiate the lapped car of Tobias Harnvey and just letting people go there, but Lehmann now starting to really put the pressure on Tixier. Tixier is going to be walking wounded after that contact with the pit entry wall, but seems that he's getting the power down nicely. He's focusing on those exits. That's the main thing. Just driving a car like this full stop, that's what you got to do. But if you're damaged like Tixier is, focusing on getting on the throttle as early as possible will minimize any straight line speed disadvantage you might have.
Absolutely. And the good news is the engine's in the back, so he didn't need to worry about damaging that. However, he definitely nosed it right into the radiator, and hopefully he doesn't overheat the car. At least it's got plenty of wind heading towards it, and it's a cool day. Meanwhile, look back here into the south curve as they lap the likes of Harnvey, who's surprisingly still out there and running. Plumley just went by, but Sanchez and Becker, who were the ones that overtook him, were hoping for something to maybe shake this up, or at least Sanchez was, but it looks like no dice on that. And as they break into the Einfahrt Parabolica, he's still not got him quite yet.
Yeah, good exit from Becker, though. Slightly straighter exit from Sanchez, which is really going to help him here. Maybe he'll pick up a bit of slipstream through the Parabolica, even with that slight damage he has to the front of his car. There is some momentum there for Sanchez. Is he going to go for the outbreaker maneuver? They're pretty level on the brakes, but just slips up the inside. Becker sees him coming and gives him a good amount of room. So, move complete there for Xavier Sanchez. It's going to be a tough ask for him to get back up to his starting position of 12th, but at the same time, there's still plenty that can happen in a race like this. We've already seen plenty of drivers fall to mistakes.
Absolutely. So he's got to keep his nose to the grindstone. And you made a good point. Is we saw in the last few laps, or the first 10 laps of this race, there's been a lot of spins here, way more than I expected for a track of this nature. I wonder if it is all those medium speed corners like you pointed out.
Yeah, potentially. The cold track temperature might have something to do with it as well. This car has treaded tyres that are made out of a very hard compound. This car comes from an era of Grand Prix racing where tyre changes weren't really a factor. The technology had not been created at the time to allow quick change tyres in pit stops. So, hard rubber, cold track. It's taken a long time for these tyres to get up to temperature.
Indeed, and as we were watching this, Tixier managed to get by Quellen. You see him there, and there is your temperature, only 19 Celsius on the track surface itself, with a little bit of wind, but these cars not all that susceptible. Don't need to go to it, but Glenn Becker just had a spin, so even after he got overtaken by Sanchez, he's given up more positions. Meanwhile, Quellen's not given up on Tixier. May have been overtaken, but he's hanging tough here, still only half a second behind.
Yeah, if anything, he's made up a little bit of extra time on Tixier here, so I think Sebastian might be dealing a bit now with the damage that he has accrued over the last few laps. Nice smooth exit, though. He'll have to keep it nice and smooth as well into this stadium section. This is a section of the track that was actually built in 1967, the year this car is from. A very big curb usage there, but we focus a little bit further forward, coming through the Sud curve. It's Bill Tyler still chasing down Ryan Walker.
Yeah, I was kind of watching this myself and seeing how small this gap is. It's the closest fight within the top 5 of everybody in front of them, all gapping to about 5.8 to 2.4 seconds apart. So it seems like everybody at the very front is just kind of running their own race from here. But look at the differences between Tyler and Walker, and it looks like Bill has been steadily clawing him in with a huge gap gained on lap 7. I wonder if that was some lap traffic or if we got an error out of Ryan at some point.
Could be one, could be the other, as that's a very late dive there for Bill Tyler. Can he pull it up? Yeah, just manages to, and Walker saw him coming from a long way back. Side by side on the exit, the outside line is the one with the advantage, so Walker's going to slot back in ahead. Tyler, I think, needs to try those kinds of moves because he is carrying a bit of damage to his nose cone. That's going to be affecting his straight line speed slightly.
So many times we've seen that outside line at the Spitzkara just allows a such better launch that there's no fight back from the car on the inside, despite having a shorter line as they come into the stadium section as well. Yeah, this track from that late 60s era has a lot of history, and fortunately, some of it sad, as this is also the place where Jim Clark, one of the famous drivers of this car, lost his life back on the old circuit. And there's still a memorial out there for him as well. But coming out of the south curve, a little bit of a different line between the two of them, but that looked like a better one for Ryan Walker this time.
Yeah, it looked like Walker was able to get the power down nicely. Firing it a bit more towards the inside there was Bill Tyler, and clobbering that sausage curb. The soft suspension of this car can absorb that bump, so I might have to make an alteration to my remarks earlier about the car's ability to take the inside of that corner. But a big oversteer moment for Bill Tyler coming out of that corner. The exit of Einfahrt Parabolica, you know, you turn in for it and the turn keeps going, then it switches direction. So you've got to make sure that you have a stable car under you if you want to make that move. And it seems that Tyler is much more confident on the brakes than Walker is, but it had to go defensive, did the number 5 from Scotland. And it seems that Tyler is closer to him than he's been as of recent. Oh, getting into the grass for Walker as well. He'll want to try and minimize that with the incident limit.
We're not sure exactly where everybody sits with that, but it's going to be so easy to rack those up. We're just barely halfway through this race now, so we're getting there. If you've been limiting them until now, you can afford to abuse a few, no doubt. And behind them, you can just catch glimpses of Richard Yolland in the 14 that has been starting to pick up. The more these two fight, the more they're going to be susceptible to that 14 car.
Yeah, Yalland last lap of 38.889. It's mid-39s for Walker and for Tyler as well. So this battling that they're doing is compromising them.
Into the north curve once again, but it's Tyler who goes a little bit wide, has to take the off track there through that first quick right-hander and down into the Einfahrt Parabolica. Trying to straighten up that exit. This car needs that mechanical grip once it pointed in a straight line. And as they start to pick up speed, looks like Walker is the one to be able to pull away after a shoddy first few corners from Bill Tyler. So for once, they start to break apart in what has been an ongoing battle. Topi Cortinemi is still our leader in this race in the number 1. He put it on pole, and he's now extended it to about 7 seconds over Hovdal. And it's looking like he's got complete control of this race.
Yeah, Cortinemi looks untouchable on his return to this series. Of course, a former series champion as well. A lot of experience here in the Lotus 49, and being the highest I-rating driver in the field, you would expect him to be up the front. And seems that he's just keeping it nice and under control. He's got that car gliding over those curbs. It's fantastic to watch him go.
Yeah, that Raccoon Racing team just has some incredible talent in it. And the Finn just basically cruising for now. We'll see if he can keep that up and keep the mistakes away. As we look at Hovdal now, who has not completely shaken Gronkowski. There you can see Gronkowski in the background trying to keep up with him, And if there's any little slip up from the 3, that could open himself up to attack. But Gronkowski has got to get there first. So not looking like potentially a win today unless he sees some mistakes from those 2 in front as we go back to Tyler now.
Yeah, Tyler is incredibly confident on the brakes. I'm surprised that he's able to pull it up like he is. Walker, but on the other hand, being a lot more gentle on the brake pedal, especially here in this section. It looks like Tyler's caught a little bit of a slipstream. He's going to have a look up the inside here. Walker, though, goes middle of the road, forces Tyler to take as tight a line as possible. But this time, Walker overshoots the corner a little bit and decides, well, you know what? Guess what, Bill? I think you'll be able to take the position this time around. I'll see if I can fight back here in the last few laps of the race.
And Bill took a long time to make that one happen, but once he did, it was pretty decisive. As a little bit of a slide from Walker coming into the corner and from Tyler as well. That did slow them up a little bit more, and Yalland gained some time, but he can't take advantage of it. He has to sit back still a few more tenths before he can start to get aggressive. As we look forward over the shoulder of Ryan Walker, will he try to fight back as well? It does seem like Ryan and Bill have been somewhat evenly matched, though Bill has had a slight pace advantage.
Yeah, ever so slight. Remember that Tyler started in 8th place. Ryan Walker started in 6th. So you do the math, you can see that Bill Tyler has made a slightly better net gain than Walker has. But Walker taking everything and then some out of the Nord curve. Let's see if he can fight back on Bill here. Now it's Ryan's turn to be a little bit later on the brakes, try and get onto the rear bumper, or I guess the gearbox of Bill Tyler. Slightly compromised on the exit, but we'll see how the slipstream works for him. All of this has continued to bring Richard Yalland right back into it. He might be able to take 2 positions if these 2 entangle.
Speaking of getting entangled, Timothy Porter and Christian Arribas had a little bit of one of those through the Spitzkara. And that has sent them backwards slightly. Here we go, side by side once again, coming off the turn, Tyler and Walker, but Tyler will rebuff him. Walker has to give up some time coming through the kink, leading to Mercedes, and he's once again going to be wide for the 2nd lap in a row, and now Yalland is truly there.
Walker would have picked up an off-track thanks to that. The track limits are quite brutal there on the exit of Mercedes. You can get an off-track if you just put your tyres beyond the blue and white curbing. Not here, though. Yelland is taking every single bit of curb and AstroTurf, and you are able to in that section. Catches the curb a little bit, but it doesn't unsettle him too much, unlike what we saw earlier with Jorge Nieva. And, oh dear, haven't seen many drivers go that tight through the 3rd last corner, catching the sausage curb as well. Yalland needs to be careful. He needs to make sure that he doesn't overdrive the car. Otherwise, Walker's just going to get away.
Yeah, and he's got the laps here, so he doesn't have to hustle too hard yet. A great exit coming off the north curve. Still within 0.3 of a second behind Ryan Walker. Breaking into the parabolic entry, and Walker's just been missing apex after apex. I wonder if he's a little rattled.
Potentially. Having a car in front of you can definitely change how you drive. These guys had a huge gap ahead to Jordan Gronkowski, so for the longest time, Walker only had to focus on his own braking points with Tyler in his mirrors. Now he's got that car moving in front of him and potentially distracting him. Still as close as it's ever been between Yalland and Walker. I think a move might be coming sooner rather than later, but it doesn't look like Yalland got the best of exits out of the Spitzkara there.
No, he drops back ever so slightly. And they're going to be 5 to go. There's a little bit of spinning the wheels for Bill Tyler. All of them have been trying their hardest, and unfortunately, I think it's starting to wear out some of the equipment. The rubber may be overheating slightly. And Walker, going wide now. This could open the door. Walker has an opportunity, but coming into the Sachs curve, a defense from Bill Tyler will put the kibosh on that.
We check out the battle for 12th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado is trying to hold off Bruce Snelson and Xavier Sanchez. And Sanchez really putting the attack on to try and get 13th place here. He's going to almost move to the inside, but there's just not enough time to get alongside before you get into the corner. The very long braking distances for these cars can definitely change how you approach some of these modern venues.
Yeah, Salgado up 7 positions, Snelson up 3, whereas Sanchez, we saw him wreck at this very corner, and he is down 2. Just trying to get back to where he began. Defensive move from Snelson and an even more aggressive attack from Sanchez. Says 2 can play at that game, but he can't get the overlap.
No, I mean, I thought that the Nord curve might be an overtaking opportunity, but you pretty much got to be alongside someone by the time you get to the braking zone there. So on board with Sanchez. Let's see if he picks up the draft here on Snelson. It's going to start with a good exit from the Einfahrt Parabolica, and look at that. He's already gained some momentum there with some slight wheel spin for Snelson, maybe a missed gear, and actually lifts off early, lets him go, decides, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to fight for this position too hard, might as well consolidate.
Saw the number 2 on that car, figured that it's better to just keep carrying on with my own race rather than lose time. Especially, well, if Sanchez now goes on the attack for Salgado, that could open things up for Snelson. He could try and sneak through at the same time.
That he could, as we check out Matthew Maudsley. He's got quite the battle here up ahead of him with Gary Quellen in his sights. Quellen is up 9 places. He's had an excellent race. Maudsley, meanwhile, trying to get the position back that he started in, as that's a car off, and that's Matt Wright, I think, who has gone off in the stadium.
And he spun himself, unfortunately. It looks like he's able to get going. So very simple loss of the rear we're going to see on the replay as he enters through Mobile 1 and down into Sachs Curve. Wonder if this is just too much speed into the corner.
Let's take a look at the wheel work as he makes his way in. Oh, no, it looks like maybe not much of a blip on the throttle, potentially, locking the rears, and around he went. Fortunately, no one else involved.
So that promotes Maudsley up into 9th now. We're going to watch from above. Yeah, rear just starts going very early. That's got to be gutting. But it's not over. He's still within the top 10. I want to give a mention to Maudsley because he's in a championship battle for the lead in the F2 points lead. And that is with Nieva, who is way down the order. Now, I mentioned earlier, Nieva got a podium earlier this season. That was a tremendous points haul for him. And Maudsley's been playing catch-up ever since. This is going to be a significant blow into that lead here today.
Yeah, if Maudsley can hold on to this, and he's having a little bit of trouble holding on there through Mercedes, he'll be able to take a big chunk of points out of Jorge Nieva at the very least, and that could make all the difference towards the end of the season. Of course, we've still got to consider drop rounds in all of that as well. Your 8 best results count over a 12-week season.
Indeed, and that might be the saving grace that Nieva needs for a race like today, where it all fell apart when it was looking so good for him. And Maudsley here in the blue and orange machine, chasing Gary Quellen in the 11 with the green on the sides and yellow pinstriping. So they fly down and start lap 19. We are now getting into the last few circuits around this place. And here is where they have to start going. In fact, we might want to head up to Ryan Walker and Bill Tyler. I asked if Walker could fight back. He's giving us a yes.
He is indeed. Let's see if Tyler goes defensive. He's not going to give Walker an opportunity to go up the inside. And it looks like Walker just holding back for the time being, hoping Tyler overshoots the Spitzkehrer. Gets on the throttle nicely. So they'll stay the same down all the way down into first gear of a 5-speed gearbox. Oh, just lifting off there is Bill Tyler to try and make his way through the corner. Walker gathered it up on him just a little bit. Could be the exit here that works out for him. Bill Tyler has been overdriving the car a little bit. He's been getting on the brakes super hard, power sliding, oversteering almost constantly, and certainly got him the pace he needed over Walker to start with, but I think it might be starting to unravel for him. Look, he just went a bit too deep there.
Well, he's only got 2 more laps, I believe. Yeah, 2 more laps this time by. Cortiniemi's already gone by the starting line. So this is going to be the start of lap 20 for this trio. How hungry is Yalin? Does he try to get ever more aggressive? Does he try to make some more risky moves? They're going to go by a little bit of lap traffic. Christian Arribas pulling off to the side to let them through, and Ryan poking his nose ever so slightly, then decides against it, and he's better off the corner. Could he have a go down into the Parabolica entry?
Could he indeed? The track narrows up, but he is going to sit behind. He knows that it's an easier overtaking opportunity down here through the Parabolica. It also means that he isn't left open to an attack, but he could be left open to an attack from Richard Yalland. Actually has lost a bit of time, has Yalland. I think not the best of exits. So does Walker fire it up the inside of the Spitzkehrer? No, he's just a bit too far back. Bill Tyler still going defensive here. He knows that he's in trouble now.
Tries to cut back and late apex it, but Walker only manages to get to the gearbox. He's going to have to make another move to complete a pass if he set that one up before, but no, he is a little bit slow down into Mercedes compared to Bill Tyler. Two different lines in almost every single corner we've seen between these two. Oh, and that was another big mistake. Oh. And it seems like every time out of that little section that Tyler is slightly slower than Walker.
Yeah, and he's tried to compensate by being a bit more aggressive into this corner. It's worked out for him this time. Looks like, goodness me, Yalland has really dropped off this battle now. Something must have gone wrong for him. I think he's just staying back and letting these guys fight it out at the moment. Walker was going to take a slightly wider entry into the final corner. A lapped car might just make things work for him. That's Robert Reynolds pulling over to let those guys by. But again, there's no opportunity for Ryan Walker down the start-finish straight. That's an excellent bit of momentum through the Nord curve, though. You see how much time he gained on Bill Tyler, and he is going to move to the inside. Oh, nah, thinks better of it.
Tries to open up the entry once again. He's so close to touching the rear of that car, but it doesn't pay off coming off the corner. Or does it? He's going to have a little bit of a slipstream. How aggressive does he want to be? Tyler slightly defensive. Does he continue to fade across? Yes, he does, both of them going as far to the inside as they dare and then switching back across. Ryan Walker gonna try and see if he can cover the over-under, but no, it is still just not there.
Yeah, same story as over the last few laps. I think if Bill Tyler can keep it together, he might have this position secured. Walker only has a few more chances here, but looks like our leader, Topi Kotonimi, is about to navigate the final turn here, Joe. Dominant performance there.
Unbelievable win for Topi Kotonimi, taking his first of the season and celebrates as he crosses the line with victory in Germany. Havdahl with a calm second place, managing to outpace Jordan Gronkowski, who still can't seem to get himself that win. But it is a valuable podium when one of his rivals are not here today to collect points. Bill Tyler, one of the drives of the race, if you ask me. And in spite pressure from Walker after overtaking him, has kept him behind, and Tyler will finish just off the podium. Walker in fifth, Yalland in sixth. And Tixier did collect himself back into seventh, but it's a question of what could have been for him, as we see Quellen here just barely leading Matthew Maudsley, who will get a nice little haul there from ninth towards his F2 championship. There's a good number of cars still on the lead lap, about 20 of them. And I see Will Lamb with a whole bunch of cars breathing down his neck, including Cam Porter.
Yeah, how's this going to work out between them? Will Lamb having to contend here with Glenn Becker. Looks to me like they're going to work out nicely across the line. No moves being made. So it's going to be Becker into 18th. Oh, into 17th, sorry. Made the move on Will Lamb on that lap.
And that is the last of them. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back here to Hockenheim. We just watched round 7 of the Grand Prix Legends Series, and Topi Cortiniemi comes back to defend his honor and does so pretty successfully with a handy 9-second lead at the line for victory from pole. Matthias Hovdal up from third to grab a second place, and Jordan Gronkowski, another one, promoted onto the podium as he finishes in third to get some valuable points in his fight with Jim Shedlick, who was not able to attend today. Bill Tyler was fourth, and Ryan Walker within the top 5 today. Couldn't keep Bill back. Richard Jolland behind them, watching all the action, climbed from 10th, and Sebastian Tixier, who was on the front row at the beginning, just couldn't keep it together yet again and wound up in 7th. Gary Quellen was P8, up from 18th. Excellent run. And then you've got Matthew Maudsley finishing 9th, and Matt Wright rounding out your top 10.
It was a tough one for Xavier Sanchez, dramas in the opening laps, but he managed to recover and finish one up from his starting position in 11th. Janne Lehmann makes up 2 places to finish in 12th. It's Marco Salgado who finishes in 13th from 19th, with Bruce Snelson behind him over Trengerade, one of the what-if stories of the race. Qualified well, good enough for 5th, but had to settle for 15th in the end. Plumley finishes in 16th, with Becker 17th, as Will Lamb, Cam Porter and Andreas Nielsen that round out the top 20, and those are all the cars that finished on the lead lap.
Yep, then it's Michael Cinco, a lap down in 21st, Mats Linden 22nd, Eugenio Massa P23. You've got Ben Summers behind him and Christian Arribas back there, who definitely had a little bit of action, with Timothy Porter, who finished behind him in 26th. Bjorn Ackerman was 27th. You've got Gary Ho, P28, and 29th went to Jorge Nieva. Unfortunate finish for him after starting from 7th. And then you get to 2 lap down cars with Bogan Nepivoda in 30th.
31st place, also 2 laps down, was Robert Reynolds. Armin Weber finishes in 32nd, 3 laps down. Same story for John Olsen in 33rd. Then we start getting into the real heartbreak stories. Tobias Harnvey was able to get back out onto the circuit after a big incident on the opening lap, but 6 laps down. Laust Olsen 9 laps down, and unfortunately then we get into retirement territory. Marcellus Breuning, Steen Morris, Hideki Koivisto, Jose Monteagudo, and Paul Ferrer, the last of our drivers. Those last 3 all out on the lead lap, and Simone Pancri did not take to the start.
Well, let's take a chat with Jordan Gronkowski, who finished in 3rd here today. And Jordan, it looked like you didn't have too exciting of a race other than the start, where you and Sebastian had a bit of a back and forth. I mean, talk to us about it from your perspective. What was this race like?
Thanks. Yeah. First of all, it's nice to be back in the podium. I've had a couple of not bad weeks, but well, Knockhill was interesting. But yeah, no, it's good to be back. Talking to you guys again. The race was. It's a bit strange for me. The cars kind of felt okay all week, and it felt okay in the race there again. But I just did not have the pace of the guys ahead. So yeah, the start was always critical in these cars. You pick up a tiny bit of wheel spin, or you bog down a bit too much, and you just can't move. I saw Seb getting a little bit of wheel spin. So I was able to get up his inside. I think he squeezed me quite tight. I think at the apex at the first corner, I think we might have banged wheels a little bit, but I think we both survived, which is the main thing. After that, it was just trying to hang on to the top few, to be honest, which I was honestly struggling to do. I must have kind of lost my way a little bit with car setup this week. It's just not been, as I say, I'm obviously missing something compared to the top 2, or maybe that's just excuses and I'm not quick enough. But yeah, then luckily for me, Seb made a mistake, which you never like to gain positions that way, but I've made plenty of mistakes in my time, so I'm quite happy to accept it from others. And yeah, after that, it was pretty straightforward. As you say, I just couldn't catch Matthias, and Topi was obviously on another planet up front. So just settled into it, tried not to make any stupid errors. There are a couple of back markers, a few incidents I had to drive around, and then just take it home for the podium. So yeah, quite happy.
Well, you said the car felt okay, but we saw a lot of drivers spinning out there today. Do you feel like there was something about this track that proved difficult, or were the conditions strange? What do you feel? I mean, did you notice anything that felt like it was at least a little bit off?
I certainly wasn't as quick today as I have been in test sessions, and even earlier today when I was in a practice session. But the track temperature and things looked similar. But yeah, it's a difficult track anyway. I think there's a lot of sweeping corners where you have to balance the car well, and it's so difficult to do in these things. I mean, obviously maybe it doesn't look that difficult on screen, but trust me, when you're sitting in one of these things and trying to dance it around the corner, it's just one misstep or something away from swapping ends on you. And yeah, I think it's just the nature of the circuit, to be honest. It's a difficult one.
Well, without Jim here, you still managed to at least get a good finish where you needed one. Where, looking at the schedule coming up, do you feel like is a likely chance of taking a victory? Because you're still looking for that win.
I know. I don't know. Every track's a new adventure for me, obviously, my first season in this car. So it just tends to be... It's strange. Sometimes I go into some weeks thinking that I haven't really found a sweet spot and the car's not great, and I have a good result. And then I go into some weeks. Zandvoort was a good example. I really enjoyed driving the car around Zandvoort, and I was just bogged down in fifth. So I don't know. I know next time out we're at the Nürburgring, which I don't even know the second half of that circuit because I've not done enough laps there. So that's going to be a lesson in survival, I think, more than anything. So I don't know. I'll keep plugging away, and hopefully I get to talk to you guys more. And yeah, at some point, maybe the top step, we'll see.
All right. Well, that was Jordan Gronkowski, our third place finisher here today. I believe that Reese has caught up with Cam Porter, who was certainly in the thick of it.
Yeah, in the thick of it indeed, Cam. Interesting race for you, qualifying 26th and then ending up 19th. How was it from your perspective? Because especially in that first half of the race, we saw many drivers dropping like flies.
Yeah, I was really proud of myself that I'd made it up to 15th, and then all those fast guys that spun out caught up to me and passed me, so I dropped back down to 19th. But that was a really fun race for me today, especially near the end when I had that really close battle to the line with Glenn and Will. So yeah, it was a really fun race today, and I did it safely, which was my goal.
Yeah, certainly achieved that. How do you feel about the Hockenheim ring as a track, especially in an old car like this? It's certainly a far cry from the tracks that this car raced on.
You know, I'm kind of sad that you can't race the old Hockenheim ring. When iRacing released this track, I was kind of a little disappointed, but I understand they're doing modern tracks and they have to scan it. But I really enjoy this track. And in fact, I used to say that I never met a track I didn't like, but you know, there are some that I liked more than others. So yeah, really enjoyed this track and really enjoyed the race.
Well, we go to the Nürburgring next week, and the very long layout, the GSRC 24-hour layout. You're going to be driving the Grand Prix and the Nordschleife, which is common ground for this car. You looking forward to that one, or are you a little frightened?
Of course I'm frightened. If you're not afraid of the Nürburgring, there's something wrong with you. So I think I will look forward to the race. But again, today, I'm just going to try to concentrate on just staying clean, keeping it on the track, not push too hard, which is what I did today, and I think it was a successful strategy for me.
Yeah, very successful, especially with that big save you did at the Einfahrt Parabolica that we just caught on the replay screen. That was Cam Porter there. Thanks very much for joining us, mate. Hopefully we get another chance to talk to you next week.
Sure, thanks a lot, guys.
And to round off the driver interviews here tonight, we have the other Porter in the field, Tim, stood by with Joe.
Indeed. Tim having a few struggles out there, only managed 26 today, but up 5 positions. Tim, it looked like the Spitzker, the hairpin at the end of the backstretch, was really kind of your bane today.
Yeah, oh, it was, man. Going into the race, you know, I always tell myself the first few laps are the worst because the thing handles like a wet mitten. And then you forget, your blood gets up, you're chasing somebody, and boy, you get on the gas a little bit too hard coming out of that thing, and the car's the other way around on you, just like that. Yeah, it gets a little frustrating, but I calmed down after a while, for long enough for me to get around the track a few times just to do it again. But I had a good time. There was a couple of fellas there I was chasing. Maybe they didn't know they were racing with me or not, but anyway, it was fun.
I have to ask the question because you and Cam share some similarities. Is there a relation between you two?
Oh yeah, he's my brother. He's
okay.
He's my biggest coach and my biggest fan, my hardest rival, you know. But he's getting fat and slow in his old age, so I'm going to eventually start catching him here soon, I think. Yep.
You sound just like me and my brother then.
Yes. Right.
Well, next one out is going to be a serious challenge. It's the Nürburgring, and it's the 24-hour version, so it's combined. I mean, how much practice you're going to be putting into that coming up?
Well, every single opportunity I get, man, I just want to stay on the track. That somebody said, one of the boys said that you race the track, you don't race anybody else on that thing, and it's hard enough keeping this thing going straight. And for me, it's just going to be survive. I find that I get to the end quicker when I stay on the track, and that's just what I'm going to try and do next week. It's going to be fun anyway. I really like going there, and although I'm going to be nervous, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, well, we enjoy watching. Hopefully it will be enjoyable for you. So congratulations, at least on, I guess, a top 30 here today, and we'll look out for you next week.
Hey, thanks, Joe. We'll see you.
And that was Tim Porter, who is 26 here today, and that's going to wrap up our interviews. So we want to give a big thank you, of course, to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Reese, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media, and check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race, as we've been mentioning, will be the Nürburgring. The combined course will be Saturday, May 7th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And up next today, the Camel GT Series goes to Interlagos for their Enduro format. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.